The following is a paid program. Please be advised that the voices and opinions you hear do not necessarily represent the views of KUNV Las Vegas, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, or the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education.
Please note that while we will cover a multitude of topics, including many alleged health benefits, all information provided should be considered anecdotal and informational. Please consult with your physician before adding cannabis to your medical regimen. Cannabis is for adults 21 years of age and older. Also, paid sponsorships are not to be misconstrued as preferred or favored by the host. In any way, they are merely that, paid sponsorships. Good morning and happy Saturday, Nevada and beyond. We're excited that you're back. For everyone joining us for this, I think we're on our 7th, 8th, 9th episode. I don't know. We're somewhere en route with Get Elevated with Gia. Welcome back. For those of you who are listening again, thank you so much for coming back. For new listeners, welcome, welcome. Grab your cup of coffee, grab your smokes. Let's roll. This show is about global access and awareness and education to cannabis. We're talking about truth and clarity in cannabis. We're going to have fun. We're going to be transparent. And we have an amazing group of people in the studio here today. So I am joined by Ray Fletcher, our show engineer. Hello, Ray.
Good morning, Gia.
Hey, good morning, Ray. And we have with us Jimmy Castillo.
Hey, what's up, Gia?
What's up, Jimmy? And we have Peter Holzworth.
Glad to be here, Gia. Thanks so much for having me.
Yay! Just a quick recap. We've talked about plant, the components of the plant, the history of the plant, endocannabinoid system. Then we had some deeper dive into defining your palate. So you had all that information. Then what do you buy? What do you smoke? What are concentrates? What are vapes? All of that. Then we had this series of cannabis called Balancing Cannabis with meditative expert Colette Patricia. So now we're getting a little more serious, a little more clinical. And this title is Cannabis as Therapeutic. So we're going to go really intensely into what cannabis can do for you from a therapeutic perspective to combine with any regimen you're doing. So Jimmy Castillo is it Castillo or Castillo?
It's Castillo.
I'm right.
Yeah, you're right.
Him. Thank you. Mm-hmm. About becoming a cannabinoid expert and the journey there, which is really relevant to these topics. Then cannabis as therapeutics. We're going to talk about autoimmune disease and inflammation, actually on part 2 of this, and cannabis as a therapeutic agent for homeostasis. So, we only have 30 minutes. It's not a lot, and these guys have so much to say. So Jimmy is our star of the show. Peter Holzworth, a good friend of mine, also was en route with Jimmy for this show, and I couldn't be more excited to have you here. The stars are aligned.
Yeah. It's fortuitous planning.
It is.
Beyond our comprehension.
Right. And we got
Absolutely.
a photographer in the studio because these guys are celebs. They rolled up. We've got all kind of stuff in the background. So without further ado, I always have on the show, who better? So within the topic, I always think about who better to talk about this than Jimmy Castillo, also known as Jimmy Diamond, which we have to break down.
We do. We should.
Let's talk about now. Why?
Let's do it. Because I'm ready for this.
As I've gotten to know the community here, the cannabis community, people would always say, do you know Jimmy Diamond? I'm like, I don't. That guy sounds really cool. But I do know Jimmy Castillo. Turns out it's the same person.
Same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Tell me
cool.
about Jimmy Diamond.
Okay, so, when I first started doing extracts and concentrates, everything, the trichomes would glitter in my diamonds. And I got a really good friend who, I love music, and he's a trumpet player. He has a band called Players Inc. He also played trumpet for Slightly Stupid for a long period of time. And he's from the East Coast. And, we were out hanging out one day and brought some diamonds out for us to smoke. And,
Love it.
He's looking at these. He's like, man, this is beautiful. He's all, you know what, Jimmy? Everybody on the East Coast has a nickname. He's all, and I'm C Money. He's all, and you need a nickname, so he coined me Jimmy Diamonds.
I love that.
It's stuck for, like I said, he's a really good friend of mine, and it's stuck for a long time. When I was going through my sister's passing, I found music and, especially reggae and jazz music really comforting to my soul. And his trumpet used to, when he used to play, really, did something inside of me. So
is he a little Kenny G like, or what do we got?
He's a mix of everything. He gets down on everything, but he's just amazing on that trumpet. So
That's how it started, Jimmy Diamond.
Yeah, Jimmy Diamond. C Money gave me that name, and
C Money. I think we should create nicknames before we end the show.
We
Money.
should.
Yeah. I want something. G Money is too obvious. People call me that a lot. But
Actually, I like G Money.
I do too.
It's a classic, though, right?
It's classic.
Money in the
You
bank.
know what? Let's just go with G Money. Let's
G-Money.
just change the whole show.
Let's
Get
do it.
elevated with G Money.
Yeah.
Oh my
quick,
gosh.
Jimmy,
Yes.
I absolutely love Slightly Stupid. They're amazing.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. So then you know C Money. You know who he is.
I've
Never
seen
heard
him
of
in
him.
person like 4 or 5 times.
So I'm from San Diego.
Wow.
You know, I live in San Diego, and so I had the blessing of meeting those guys and listening to their music. And like I said, it was really comforting during the time of my sister passing, because they're so positive and the music's upbeat and really gets you going. And so cool, man.
I'm a big fan.
Awesome.
I love that. Wow.
That's awesome.
I never heard of that. I'm going to have to put him on Spotify. So why Jimmy? So first of all, I met you at the CBDO conference.
Yeah.
And everyone was just like, I think they were calling you like Jimmy Diamond, like I'm like, who is this guy? Like I want to talk to this guy. And from the minute you started talking, you could tell how much passion you had for cannabis as therapeutics, and your story was very compelling, which we'll get to in a second. So let's read the official bio. So Jimmy, over a decade of extensive cannabis extraction, formulation, and operating individual client treatment services. I'm just reading this so we get it, right? Jimmy possesses the distinctive skills to craft unique extraction processes, use methods, grow techniques, and conversion practices of the cannabis plant. So basically, you know this plant.
Yeah.
And how to pull things out of it that's beautiful. Okay. Jimmy first came into the industry in 2008 when he was inspired by his sister, Jenny Rose Castillo, to start looking at cannabis as medicine. I think I want you to tell this story.
Sure.
It's too much to read because it doesn't. Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is the main reason why you're here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in 2008, my sister was diagnosed with a 9-pound cyst on her ovary. Pretty big. Kind of looked like a brain when they took it out. It was benign. And then she started utilizing Western medicine, chemotherapy and stuff to prevent the cancer from spreading. Unfortunately, the tumor started spreading throughout her body. And in that time when she was here in California, she was using medical cannabis to, relieve her symptoms. Growing up, we knew that cannabis did 3 things. It helped you sleep, helped you eat, and it made you feel good, right? It made you laugh. And so who wouldn't want that for 3 for 3, and who wouldn't want that for a family member going through chemo? And I saw how powerful it was. Then she moved to New York, and there was no cannabis there available for her. So I saw the opposite end of that as well. And I watched her over, a year's period just deteriorate. And then I watched how her end of life was without cannabis, and it was pretty horrible. She had to, was on opiates and different types of pain medication to manage her pain, which really wasn't managing her pain. It caused constipation. One of the tumors that was killing her was pushing on her rectum. So on top of that, she had constipation. So I watched all this, negative effects go down from opiates. And by that time, I was already starting to grow and cultivate cannabis for medical patients and try to understand the plant. So when she passed, I really dug deep into cultivation, genetics, strains, and also information. I was looking for everything that I could find, whether it's from PubMed, from Israel, from even the naysayers, the ones that were saying that all the negative stuff. I was trying to read everything that I possibly could, along with bringing the plant to life as well, and understanding the how to actually develop a relationship with the cannabis plant, because this plant is amazing, and you really have to develop a relationship with it to understand it.
That's fair. So, Jimmy, we do want to get back to that now. We're going to get started with the first part of the show is really about your journey into becoming a cannabinoid expert and treating the patients, the brands. So please share with us.
Sure. So, like I was telling you earlier, I started cultivating the cannabis plant to understand the different genetics, how it was grown, what you actually needed to do to get the most therapeutic product out of the plant. So I started doing that first, and I developed a really unique relationship with the plant, started understanding the right times to harvest, the proper way to cure, even, the way that you grow and you put the love into the plant. And so I started growing and looking into different strains. We started looking at different ratios and different cannabinoid profiles that most people weren't looking at, like THCV, CBD, CBGs. We were looking for strains that were high in those, when most people were looking for, strains that were just high in THC and trying to get high and stoned. And I started working with people. And again, I was skeptical about the whole thing, but I just knew that these 3 things were able to be accomplished: the happiness, the the pain, and being able to sleep. And then again, I didn't start smoking again until in 2009 after I had already started growing it. It was like in between, but I really wasn't a big fan of it, you know.
Yeah,
So
I get that. That's cool.
Yeah. So in 2013, I opened up a dispensary, a one-on-one facility, and we started cultivating and extracting and cooking everything in-house. So we rented a kitchen. We did all of our edibles. Everything that came in pretty much was ours. We didn't have anything coming in from outside sources because I really wanted to understand what was helping with what, who it was helping, how it was helping. Everything was one-on-one. So I was able to gather a lot of data from my friends, from my clients, from people that were coming in. One of the biggest things that, I could recommend to anybody in this space is to listen, listen to really what the people are saying, and if you listen, they're not saying, give me high THC.
Right.
The majority of the people that came through my doors wanted relief, but they didn't want to be couch locked. They didn't want to be stuck. They didn't want to, they wanted the pain gone, but they wanted to function. They wanted to be part of, normal society. And so those were the goals that I was trying to achieve, trying to get people functioning again and getting balance and homeostasis without getting them too high.
I know the word homeostasis is used a lot in when we spoke, so that's coming up in the show. Can you explain to people what that means for the body?
Absolutely. So our body is very efficient. It's a very magical and special machine, and, moving around inside there. And we have, functions inside our body, our immune system, our central nervous system, our respiratory system. But we also have an amazing system called the endocannabinoid system. I know you guys touched on that, last time.
We did 101. I know you're going to do 102.
Yeah, we're going to jump into that a little bit more. But in this system, it brings homeostasis to our other systems. Like for our immune systems, brings homeostasis to our immune system, brings homeostasis to the central nervous system. And what that means is that it brings balance. It brings, where our bodies need to be at. When we're in disease, we're out of balance. Something's wrong. Whether it's a breakdown in the immune system or an over-inflammatory response in the immune system, or it's a breakdown in the digestive system, something's going on. And in order to get back, we need to do certain things to become back to homeostasis, and cannabinoids and cannabinoid therapy is one of the best ways to do that.
Right. Beautiful.
Now for a quick word from our sponsors. From the chief lobbyist of Matos Consulting, Jay is spearheading a new bill for consumption lounges. Jay is passionate about alternative places to consume cannabis, so our city and the Strip can remain family-friendly.
So, okay, you want to talk about endocannabinoid 102?
Sure. So I could just jump into that while we're in that. So we were talking about, the central nervous system and the lymphatic system and these other systems, right? The endocannabinoid system is basically a very important part of maintaining balance in the body. It regulates our appetite. It regulates our energy levels. It regulates our immune response. And it regulates pain and digestive stuff. It regulates a lot in our body. What has happened, though, over the last 80 years is we've become deficient in cannabinoids through the way that we eat and through prohibition, not being able to have these specific cannabinoids available to us. And, we have indigenous cannabinoids, right? We have andamine and 2-AG, which are synthesized in our adipose tissue, right? So our adipose tissue is our fat, right? And it's everywhere. It's around our organs and everything like that. When they fed the cows the hemp and they had it in our medicine back in the, before the 30s, everybody was getting it into their systems.
Yeah.
And
it just flowed. It was just in it.
It was just
in the food chain.
In the food chain.
In
their natural food chain, and then also too, we had higher diets of fish, right? So our natural endocannabinoids are produced by fatty acids, omega-3s and omega-6s. Then they synthesize from our adipose tissue, our fat, and then it's distributed in the places that we need it. So for example, if I was to smash my hand, we would get a response from our body. The cannabinoids would synthesize from our fat around our finger and go to that specific area. But because we're, 80 years now going without cannabinoids in our food, our bodies have been unbalanced, right? We've become into this, we're out of balance in different ways. And so the endocannabinoid system being broken down, we started seeing all these diseases. We're going to get into some of those in the next into the next chapter. Even now, we talk about CB1 and CB2 receptors and THC and CBD, but there's a whole bunch more things that we could talk to. They actually have found 8 different cannabinoid receptors in our body besides CB1 and CB2. One of the most important one is CB receptor 3, which is believe GR55 receptor. But that one's a very interesting receptor because it's both CB1 receptor and CB2 receptor.
Oh.
But
a little hybrid.
Unintended.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the future's going, baby.
It really is. We did talk about targeted therapy like that. Matt's all over that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that, and again, that's that's really the future of healing, being able to target these different receptors and not so tunnel visioned on specific things like we've been having high potency THC or high potency CBD. Going back to the third receptor, so the interesting thing about that third receptor is, especially with CBDs and everything becoming so popular, is CBDs don't activate that receptor. So you need a little bit of THC, or you need to have these other cannabinoids in the body for these other receptors to be activated and to get that going. So having the broad and full spectrum is absolutely the best way to get at it. Yeah. And actually, studies suggest that cannabinoids can actually help with weight loss because it helps in the energy balance, right?
Not the munchies, though. I'm going to tell you right there.
I'll second that.
Yeah. Because I clean out a left side of a closet.
Sure.
I'll mess it up. When you find crumbs in your bed,
let's roll a blunt fatter than King Kong's fingers after this, and then we'll figure that out.
When we're off property.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No. Yeah.
But weight loss, you were saying.
Yeah. So
back to that.
Cannabinoids can actually help, shed some weight through the regulation of the
humulene.
Humulene,
the terpene.
The terpene. Terpene is part of it, but mostly because it regulates the energy balance. Some of the reasons why we store weight is because through processed foods and sugars, and our body thinking it's starving and needing to add on to that, on the way to help us. So cannabis is amazing in that aspect, but typically or what we're seeing is a lot of cannabis users are relatively thin or get thin after using
Which
it.
Which amazes me as much as I've eaten it.
Right.
I also think it's life choices. I mean, predominantly, I think we've seen in every evolution of a cannabis economy, we've seen the usage of alcohol go down.
Absolutely.
Drunk driving arrests go down. We've seen domestic violence abuse go down.
Right.
We've seen these great effects of all the people choosing instead of, maybe instead of getting sloshed on alcohol and getting blacked out and having an argument with somebody that didn't
take a little edible and have a night in.
And then just chill, man.
Well, interesting. I'm having an episode the Saturday before Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Where I'm talking about cannabis as like a marriage counselor.
Sure.
A relationship counselor. So
sure.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely opens the heart.
Well,
two things that you're talking to about, since we're on the topic of where it's stored, the fact that it's in your system so long, can you just talk about that? Or it's tough because I'm not saying, we're worried about testing, but that kind of sucks about it.
Well, the thing is it sucks and it doesn't, right? It stays.
That's a good point.
It stays in our system because it's natural in our system, right? We have andamine and 2-AG, and we need these in order for our body to be balanced. We need to have these cannabinoids or endocannabinoids present, right?
Right.
And also, too, it's the other part of the amazing part is that's what helps. From people who decide who want to quit, they don't have this addiction to it, because it's in the body and it slowly leaves the body as you need it. But we really want to store it. We want it to have we want it to stay in our body as long as possible.
I never really
so
looked
it could
at
do
it
its
that
work.
way, Jimmy. That's a great point.
Yeah. So and again, I mean, unless you're getting tested, that's a bummer, right? But actually having cannabinoids in your system is a benefit, and the goal is to store them as a therapeutic. We want it to go in, we want it to go through the lymphatic system, and we want it to store in as much fat tissue as possible. So that way we can use it when something happens.
Sure.
Or we want to replenish our own endocannabinoid systems through change of diet and utilization of the omega-3s and omega-6s.
After a quick word from our sponsors. Can, the world's first microdose THC beverage, is now available in dispensaries all over Nevada. Out of all drinks in 2019, cannabis or not, BevNet recognized Can as the best new beverage. It's only 30 to 35 calories per serving and comes in 3 delicious and award-winning flavors: lemon lavender, blood orange cardamom, and grapefruit rosemary. More information and where to buy your 6-pack of Cann is available at our website, drinkcann.com. That's with 2 N's, drinkcann.com.
One other question
Sure.
about breast milk.
Yeah.
Because people like joke, oh, it's the most quantity, but like that is the reason why people who breastfeed longer, mothers, their babies have less rates of infection.
Sure. Absolutely.
That's a huge, I didn't know that. Like when my son was young, we didn't know that. You just kind of do it if you can and you do it. But what a huge benefit.
Absolutely. And I was surprised to find out that there was cannabinoids in the breast milk and, that the mother passes that down. But it makes sense.
You're welcome is all I got to say.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
thank you very much.
For all the mothers out there.
For all the mothers out there, thank you so
Good
much.
job.
Yeah.
To my son, you're welcome.
Yeah. And again, it's important to get those cannabinoids to the baby because we want the baby to be balanced. And we have, some things like the thymus gland inside us that, is an endocrine organ, but is very important for long-term to prevent, autoimmune disease and some of these things that, cannabinoids can actually feed. It could feed those glands and keep those glands working. Even our tonsils, cannabinoids help with our tonsils, keeping us healthy. So, it would make sense that the baby is getting those cannabinoids through the breast milk. And again, it's something natural in our body. We are a perfect match.
Shout out to Mom.
Yeah, shout out to Mom. But we are a perfect match to this plant. In all animals except for slugs, some insects, but mostly all
bees. Right? Bees don't have an
endocannabinoid system. Poor bees. But almost everything that's living, animal, mammal has an endocannabinoid system. I've actually worked with quite a few pets.
Okay.
Pets are like family members to us, especially dogs, I'm a big dog lover. I've worked with a lot of dogs and dogs have the same endocannabinoid system as us. You definitely don't want to get your dog, super high.
Yeah. Can you get them high? I mean,
yeah, you can.
Again, we say this with
and I'm not,
use your judgment, talk to your veterinarian.
Look, this is the thing. Like, I wouldn't blow smoke in my dog's mouth. Like, that's not the proper way of getting your dog high or putting it in the ear. But utilizing it in like a tincture form or
proper.
CBDs.
My buddy Matt Morgan's parrot smokes joints with him. So
Stop it.
He does. He gets on his shoulder.
Does he put the?
He does. He hits it in on himself. He takes the joint, hits it on its own. So
The parrot. Hold up a second.
Yes, I'm not kidding you.
I don't think you would. You just grab.
I will get you a video for the next show.
I want to see it.
It is going to be live.
That's
We're
awesome.
going to watch a parrot smoke a joint.
Okay.
Oh yes. God, see where that goes?
That's right.
Back to mom and breast milk.
I think that, we're going to find that this is going to be okay for our animals as well. Definitely, we don't want to over medicate them. And if they do get into into your stash or into something like that, you want to, keep an eye on them, keep their mouths watered to make sure they don't
What's
dehydrate.
the best way to administer to a canine then?
Yeah.
I mean, because edibles, obviously they have different metabolic and stomach absorption rates. They've hit, some edibles will hit me in an hour, some will hit me in 10 minutes.
Right.
Sure.
So if I were to have a canine and, I wanted to help with their hips and, my big dog's hip hurts, would you suggest an edible or would you suggest like a tincture?
You know what? A little bit of
tincture?
Yeah. I
tincture? No, I just want
tincture.
It's a tincture.
Hey, we call all of that out here. That's what we do.
Perfect.
Bing bong bing. Okay.
Depending on what the issue is, you could utilize anything from creams to tinctures to edibles.
Okay.
There's different ways. But the thing is, going back to is you want to know where your source is coming from. You want to make sure that you're not just giving them isolates. We found and seen that isolates can actually cause spikes in liver enzymes in both humans and more in dogs that they found. And again, it's about what you put into it as far as your energy too. You put that love into it. These guys love their animals. They love animals in general.
That's what's up.
What I love is that this is probably the only industry that I know of, and I've been around a little bit, where there's so much passion.
So much love.
A lot of love.
It's so much love.
Yeah.
Like genuine love for the plant, and there's always a real story that brought people in. I just love that. Okay, so I interrupted you. You were talking about pets and Baileys and full spectrum. Okay.
So same thing, just looking for companies that are full of love and, understand the importance of giving the love to the plant and the animals. And
yeah. Okay. So I want to get to the deficiency of the endocannabinoid system and how that's creating what we believe a lot of disease.
Sure.
And then prohibition and sort of like just take us back a little bit to bring us forward.
Sure. And so earlier on when we were talking about how it's been taken, cannabis has been taken away from us from our diet and stuff like that. There's a lot of people out there, especially Dr. Anthony Russo, who believe that cannabis deficiency.
Who's Dr. Russo?
He's actually formerly GW Pharmaceuticals, a very renowned scientist in cannabinoids and stuff like that. And I think he's moved on from GW Pharmaceuticals now, but very, very prominent scientist in the cannabis space, very well respected. But he talks about the deficiency and how we've gone from having the cannabinoids in our medicine to now a deficient state. And we see it, in people with the high rate of inflammation. Most disease inflammation based.
That's why if you smoke weed, meditate, like that is going to take you to
right to another place reduce that inflammation.
That's right. Balancing cannabis on Instagram to catch Colette's stuff because I think it all ties in together. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great name.
Yeah, that is a great name. Becoming deficient in cannabinoids really starts showing us how our bodies are breaking down and, kind of giving us an idea of what we need to do. And not just in autoimmune disease, but in a lot of disease, cannabinoids protect our brain. They protect our peripheral organs. They protect our...
So does it hurt our brain if we smoke under 21? What's the myth? What's Mythbuster?
Sure, let's do it. And this is another controversial subject. I'm a parent myself. I have a 19-year-old son who started using cannabis in the beginning of his high school. He was traumatically hurt and needed to use cannabis for medicine. It wasn't like I said, "Hey, come on, son, let's go get high."
Sure.
He was attacked and injured, so we put him on a cannabinoid regimen. And before I did that, I did my research. I did a lot of reading, and also too, while I was working with these patients, we were a 21 and up collective, unless you can show that you lived outside of your house or you brought your parents in. And what we found was a lot of parents coming in trying to help get their kids off of medications that they gave them as children that really are toxic to our brain, like ADD medications and ADHD, and different medications like that we put our kids on are a lot more damaging to our brain. So you got to weigh out the risk versus the reward. Now, I'm not recommending, you put anybody on a high THC
The
and let them
disclaimer,
smoke.
it's for 21 years of older, and you're just referencing your experience.
Yeah. But if you have a balanced cannabinoid profile and not just THC, there's significant amount of studies out there that doesn't damage the brain at any point, so
it's a high THC.
It's the high THC, sure.
So one
of the concerns that people have is the prefrontal cortex, right? The slowdown of the prefrontal cortex, right? Yes. A lot of medications slow down the development of the prefrontal cortex. Right. Football, head injuries slow down the prefrontal cortex. So we got to weigh these things in when we talk about
those Patriot fans. Actually,
No. Yep.
I think we have to weigh out the risk versus reward. If we're talking about just the prefrontal cortex, and the child needs something because they're anxious, they're going through
pros and cons with
there's pros and
anything.
cons. But CBD, CBGs, these non-psychoactive cannabinoids are amazing for the body, and we need them as we're growing. We need them in our body to help function, again, to get back to balance at any age. So having those in, again, I'm not, saying go smoke with your kids, but, put this into your thought process that, these cannabinoids are beneficial, and, there's a lot of things that also slow down the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah. Got it. So let's wrap here because we've covered a lot. I think the summary of this is there's a lot of therapy. I love how you kind of changed my language from medicine to therapeutic, and I'm going to use them interchangeably because medicine is so powerful to me. But I understand the respect, the reverence that you have for Western medicine as well.
Sure.
And that there's a much deeper understanding of the endocannabinoid system that we have yet to really uncover. We're just scratching the surface. Would you agree?
Just scratching the surface. We're on the tip of that iceberg, and so much more to look forward to.
Oh, I can't. I'm so glad I'm in this space with you guys and then sharing this love of the plant. And I do want to for people who are interested in learning more about your brands, which we didn't really touch on, but I want to just say, first of all, always consult your physician before adding cannabis to your medical regimen, right?
Absolutely.
Makes sense. You have two websites that if people are interested for more information, they can go to Jenny's Rose, Jenny, jennysrose.com, and mybraveline.com.
That's correct. And we named Jenny's Rose. That's my sister's name.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I have the Brave Line product. That's what you're using, Peter?
That's what I use on a daily basis.
That tincture tastes is fire. It's really.
Thank you.
I was prepared. I gave a bottle away, and I was preparing them like it could be earthy, and then they tried like, no, it's fire. I'm like, oh, good, give me some of that. So that was great. And so we're going to return next week to go deeper into autoimmune inflammation, and then really talk about how to add cannabis as wellness and homeostasis in your life. I'm very excited about that. So I would like to thank everyone for being here today. Thank you, Peter.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Ray. I know we didn't hear much from you this time, Ray. I'm sad about it. But
Thank you, Ray.
I'm learning.
I know. I can tell when Ray's learning, he's quiet over there. Yeah, that's cool. And love and gratitude for all the listeners here.
Yes.
I'm so grateful because without you, this would be nothing. So thank you for returning. Come back next week. You definitely want to understand more about Jimmy's concoctions as therapeutic. That sounds like bad concoctions.
No, I love
Jimmy
it. Concoctions.
Jimmy Diamond.
Yeah, sending lots of love and light.
Absolutely. So love and gratitude, dear friends. And as I always like to say, welcome to the future of cannabis. My name is Gia. I'll be your tour guide.
G-Money.
G-Money.
There it is.
You have been listening to a paid program sponsored by Get Elevated. Please be advised that the voices and opinions you heard do not necessarily represent the views of KUNV Las Vegas, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, or the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education.